I didn't know I could be a brand owner. Like, brand owners were people to me that like lived in Paris and went to fashion school, and I didn't know that these things were even like achievable. Never wanted to play into trends because I've wanted that longevity. This t-shirt that I sold you in 2014 and you still pull it out in 2024. I can't think of many that were doing it then. What if Monday never comes? Like, chase your dreams today.
Let's flat out. Big teams, big boys, alright?
My highs and lows inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. God can see, no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream. Single mother told me worth, and now I'm worth everything. Went from Wall Street to Abu Dhabi, straight rolling in a Maserati with women that feel exotic. My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement. Last
What's
flight
going
out,
on, man?
Let's flat out.
Welcome to a special Los Angeles edition of the Last Flight Out podcast. We're your hosts, Mike and Jay. Hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and give us a follow across all our social media accounts at Last Flight Out Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. You can find me at JLubriel26 across all my social media accounts, and you can follow Mike at
If Mike was here. Today we have a special guest. I'm very excited to announce Davin Gentry. He's here with us. One of the creative forces in the fashion industry and entrepreneurship today. Founder of Diet Starts Monday. They've had multiple collaborations with Saucony, with Puma, with 47. Welcome. We're glad to have you, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for making the time. So before we go into the questions and, dive into your background, we always start the show with a word association. So I say a word, something comes off the top of your mind, whatever the first thing. So the word is, or the phrase is Madisonville, Kentucky.
Oh, home. That's my DNA. That's literally what it's funny because I feel like a lot of people have this relationship with their hometown, but like growing up, you kind of, you're going through the motions. You don't really think about it, but at a certain point, you're like, yo, this place sucks. But then like you get older and you really start to see like the beauty of it, especially like where I'm from. It's a super slow city, like slow paced. But it just taught me so much just that I still carry with me. So yeah, that's home for sure.
Yeah, you're the second person I met from Madisonville, Kentucky.
Wow.
I went to law school with somebody who I'm actually very close with, who's also from Madisonville,
That's
Kentucky.
crazy. What's their name?
Evan Shepard?
Evan Shepard was a basketball player?
No, he used to be a football player in high school, and he went. Where did he go? Where did he go to college? I forgot where he went to college, but he went
The name sounded like an athlete that I remember.
Yeah, so he's 31, so I don't know.
Yeah, he's younger than me, but I've still heard of the athletes that have kind of made some moves. So
yeah, he's a big dude. So I lived with him in London, so he used to tell me like I'm never going back.
Yeah, he said that then, but I feel like at a certain point he'll probably, like, we all kind of have the same like the same mindset for a certain period, and then at a certain point you're like, yo, like it actually, I wouldn't go back to live there, but there is, like I said, there is beauty there. You just got to kind of break through some stuff to see it.
Yeah,
Got it.
I would say take us to the beginning, because from us, we two New Yorkers, when we think of fashion, the inspiration, I think of Harlem, I think of going to LES, Soho. What's that in Kentucky? And how did you, we love the brand, so how did you get that swag, or how did you bring that out where kind of everyone, no matter where you're from, is like, oh, okay.
We're not trying to throw no shade at Madison.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, for any of our viewers from Madisonville, Kentucky, we're not trying to show no shade.
No, for sure. We didn't. It's no secret. Like, we don't have Soho, and we didn't have anything in Kentucky really, especially where I'm from. Madisonville is in the southwest corner of Kentucky, so we're close to Indiana and right above Tennessee. So that's where we went for stuff. We would go to Evansville, Indiana. That was like 30 minutes from us. and then we would go to Nashville, which was an hour and a half from us. But I mean, I think at that time, obviously, we weren't like you weren't shopping on the internet, and so it was like we got what we could find close to us, and you really kind of depended on the stores to be the tastemaker. So I have a relationship still with a guy T, who owns Fat Caps in Nashville, and I was shopping there when I was like, I don't know, 17, 16, 17, 18. He still has the store and they carry diet, but we still communicate a lot, obviously because of business. But I always tell him like you were kind of a key like figure in fashion for me, because I would come into the store and he'd be like, yo, we got this then from A Life, or this is this new brand, the Hundreds, or like whatever. So he really put us on. Before that, like earlier, it was what we would see on TV, Fresh Prince, NBA, Jordan, Iverson, Big Tigger, BET, like anything that we saw, or East Bay magazines.
Oh, East Bay was huge,
That catalog,
man. I used to send my orders to the mail.
Yeah. So I mean, we all probably, outside of like you guys having immediate stuff, like we still were probably shopping at a lot of the same external spots. But I came to New York first time was 2008.
So before diet.
Oh, long before.
Long before diet.
Before I had really any brand. I had a custom, my first thing, he said start at the beginning. My first real endeavor in fashion was hand-painted clothing, like Mesquite, if you guys remember that. So I actually interviewed with Mesquite. I think I was gonna move like to Jersey and work with them, but I ended up just kind of going my own route. So I would do custom clothing and hand paint whatever people like. I would take orders. So you would say like, hey, I want this, and this on a shirt to match these shoes, and I would paint it.
Crazy.
What age is this?
This was I had just graduated high school, so
18,
19.
Oh, okay.
I started it, I think, when I was 18, and I was trash. And even now, looking back, like the first few years were like hella bad. But because I was never like a painter, I could always sketch, but my style was very like sketchy. Like it was fast and fast twitch. Painting is more like
patient.
Yeah, like, and I didn't have it for a while, and I still got okay, but I think a lot of it was just the fact that I was connected to a lot of places, a lot of people, and people just wanted something custom. They wanted something that you couldn't get at the store. So especially where we're from, like you would go to Nashville to get your shoes, and then you would come to me to get a shirt to match. So
wow,
that was the beginning of brand building for me.
And this is no technical fashion school or anything like that.
I mean, this is me literally going and buying tees from like, we had a store called Hip Hop Fashions in Bowling Green. I think it's probably still there. Bowling Green, Kentucky is where I went to college. Western Kentucky University. And so that's when my custom clothing kind of like exploded. I was doing clothing for everybody on campus, the ball players. Bowling Green is in a really cool spot because it's on the interstate between Louisville and Nashville. So everybody at our school is Louisville, Nashville, but then all the athletes are like Florida, Atlanta. Yeah. So it's really a big melting pot. And so everybody was coming to me for shirts. But I would get tees from Hip Hop Fashions, and then I would just paint like all day, like 20, 30 shirts a weekend. But that was my job. Like that's all I did. That's how I supported myself. But my rent was like $270 a month. So it was like, it didn't take me that much.
Yeah. Man, how many shirts was that? Maybe 10, 5?
Yeah. No, I was at first I was selling them for like 20, 40. And then it got up to like 60, 80, 100.
You're like, all right. Like,
yeah, I mean, once I got better and once I
build your
like
name.
once I had like respect on my name, it was like when I started doing them for like artists, like I was doing stuff for 2 Chainz, like had to be like 2000. This was when he was Titty Boy. This was
Titty
like,
Boy, yeah.
yeah, this was before Duffel Bag Boys. So this was
That's early.
forever ago. But
He reached out to you. You reached out to him.
a lot of it was like the way it would start is my cousin was he was like a president of a DJ crew, and I don't know if you guys even have seen what DJ crews like. It's a whole other world where they have conferences, and it's kind of like a big thing. But he was a president of one, and so he would come into town and DJ, and he would be like, "Yo, we're at the club with so and so tonight," and then I would just paint a shirt real quick, and then he would always like introduce me to them and hand it off. And so from there, that's when we would connect. And then they would be like, yo, I got a show for BET Spring Bling, like paint me a shirt for this or whatever. So that was kind of like where I learned how to network and just the importance of like being on the scene.
And even taking it further before that point, did you always know you wanted your own brand, or is it just something? Was there a particular point where you were like, all right, I think I could branch out and create something on my own?
I mean, to be honest, like growing up, at first I thought I was going to the NBA. Like I feel like
Are you a hooper?
I was. I mean, I don't really hoop anymore, but at the time, like kindergarten till high school, like that was life all day. Was hooping.
What position?
So I was a point guard up until high school, and then freshman year they moved me to the 4.
It's a big jump.
Yeah, but I'm 6'1".
Okay, you.
But like people were playing against her like 6'8", 6'10". But it worked for us because we would run like a 5 wide, and I was so fast off my first step that I could usually just like blow past people. So the 4 was like I had more success as a point guard, but they just wanted me at the 4, so I had to go where they put me. But I mean, it was better. Like I was never like a great shooter. I was always just like flashy and could drive to the basket and was real crafty. But so yeah, I mean, at first I thought I was going to the league, and then after I actually quit basketball for like a few weeks my junior year, and my coach was like, "Yo, like, what are you doing?" And so he brought me back. I finished out senior year. And after that, I was burnt out. I had a couple colleges in the area that like wanted me to come, but it's just, I don't know. It's funny. I look back and I'm like, should I have like taken the scholarship and went and played? Part of me says yes, but then I probably wouldn't be here. I probably would be doing something weird. So I think I made the right decision, but I never thought about I didn't know I could be a brand owner. Like,
wow,
we didn't have, like, brand owners were people to me that like lived in Paris and went to fashion school, and I didn't know that these things were even like achievable. So I think at first after the league, I wanted to be an architect. Then I found out there was too much like math involved. So I switched and went to college for business, like management at first. And then very quickly, I started seeing people who were playing with graphic design.
Okay.
And then that's when I switched. And I wanted to switch to art. I thought you were an artist if you're a graphic designer. And my advisor was like, no, like you need to go into advertising. She's like, she was an advertiser. So she was like, this is where the money's at. She's like, you would never make money as an artist, which obviously she was saying it kind of in a way of like, trust me, like I've done this is where the money's at. So I listened to her, and I shifted to graphic design. Oh, I shifted to advertising, and then I was in school for a little bit for that, and then I ended up just kind of like stopping because the hand painted clothing was like, I won't say taken off to where I was like making a lot of money, but I just felt like I could be more productive if I wasn't in school. And then not until probably like right when I quit going to college, that's when we launched our first brand, Premium Co.
Yeah.
And that was
What
kind
year
of
was that?
2011.
Okay, yeah, 11.
This is
Yeah.
the jewelry.
So this is
brand,
like
right?
Yeah.
6 to 7 years before even DSM. So
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
had Premium from 2011, and we still have it. It's just kind of like in the closet somewhere chilling. But we launched that 2011. We launched Diet 2017.
2017.
So yeah, this was really the first, like, I had these other little custom things that were kind of like stepping stones or whatever. But Premium was our first kind of like real taste of business. And that kind of came by accident. Like Tyler, my partner, he's still my partner with Diet, but he came to me and was like, "Hey, I want to make gemstone bracelets." And one of my vendors that I would buy stuff for the custom stuff, they sold gemstone beads.
Oh wow.
So we kind of were like let's team up and do it. So it kind of happened just because he brought it to me.
Just a question for, I mean, I know our audience is going to ask this, but at which stage are you all in? Diet starts Monday. You all in? This is.
I mean, I was all
Right.
in on the t-shirt, on the
t-shirt.
custom
T-shirts.
I was
No
gonna-
side jobs. No side.
No,
hustles.
so there was a point where I worked at Old Navy for like maybe 2-3 months. But again, I think that the flexibility of my rent only being $270, and that's everything included, utilities and everything.
Was there you got your 3-bedroom with that?
No, it was 4 of us in there. We all paid $270. But and that honestly was kind of like, that was its own kind of incubator, because my roommate across the hall from me, Sean, he's still the most talented artist that I know. And he was kind of, I won't say following in my footsteps, but like we were both doing the same things. Like I was doing graphic design, he was doing it. I was painting shirts, he was doing it. And so it was kind of like what is it? Iron sharpening iron type thing. Like we were both like learning.
You guys share ideas with each other? Or
I think more so like he was such a better painter than me that I would kind of like pick up on techniques of like, oh, how did you get the colors to blend that way? And then graphic design, I feel like I could say I was probably a little bit more advanced. He was more skilled, but for what our customers were wanting, like I kind of had the name, I guess, but he would kind of be like, oh, like that's how you did that or whatever. So it was kind of, we were both kind of sharing, I guess, the knowledge a little.
And with Premium or the hand, did you have what was the name of the hand painting shirt?
So my nickname back home is Gully. So the shirts were Gully Originals.
Oh, nice.
And so so whatever the custom design was, it might be like Miss Piggy or something, and then I would paint Gully Originals at the bottom. It's like my signature.
Cool. And when did you know with Gully Originals or Premium that you had a proof of concept? Like at what point was it like, okay, I got something here. Maybe now I'm kind of leaning forward. I want to leave Old Navy, drop out of school, wherever it may be. Like what was that moment where you were like, aha, I got something here?
I never had like an aha moment. It was just like I'd always been able to make money. And so I was always more like, as long as I can go outside and walk, like I can figure it out. So it was never really an aha moment, like, oh, like people are buying this, I'm gonna go all in. It was just like, I've said this before on a podcast. It's honestly just like, I just like hopped in the driver's seat and the car was like going where it was supposed to go. It was never me kind of like, a lot of people have those aha moments where they're like, okay, once I saw that we did this, I knew. I never had that starting. I've had them since with Premium and with Diet, but I used to get yelled at by my mom all the time. She was like, yo, like go get a job with like healthcare and like all of this stuff. And I never listened to her. And now
she's probably happy about that.
Now, she left a comment on one of my posts before, like she's like, I'm so happy you didn't listen when I was telling you like go do this stuff. So I kind of it may have been just like blind faith,
Right.
but I just was like, once I sold one for $20, I was just like,
So I could do
that
this.
was, I guess that was the proof of concept. $20, I probably made $6 on it. So
You felt that was probably the biggest win at that point, right? Because you had something that somebody was willing to take their hard-earned money and purchase that you made.
I mean, I think too, at that time, there wasn't, especially, again, I keep saying this, but especially in Kentucky, it was just a wide open market. Like nobody was doing anything custom. Nobody was hand painting clothing. Nobody was really doing the graphic design like that. There eventually along the way, there were some people that were, but it's funny because even a homie that I grew up with, he hit me the other day trying to buy some stuff, and I was just like, "Yo, just send me your address. I'll send you the stuff." So I sent it to him, and then he posted it on Facebook or something, and he was just so like happy for me, and when he tagged me. Somebody said, "Whose brand is this?" And so he tagged me, and the guy was like, "Oh, I should have known." Like he was the one that was painting the shirts back in the day. So it was kind of like I just was like, I was the guy that painted shirts. Like there was nobody else that did it. So it's like if there's not a lot of competition, like it's not even that I was that great. It was just that there was a lack of competition. But I did have talent and drive. So I still would have like been better just because I would have, but I luckily I didn't have to. Like it just was, like I said, I hopped in the seat and then the Tesla drove me there. That was how it happened.
I was gonna say, so now take us to the start of Diet Starts Monday. For me, when I first came across it, it was a store in DC, right?
Right.
And for me, it was something that was buzzing. That I had people going to DC like, yo, I think it was like brunch parties maybe as well.
I mean, yeah. So we had a brunch on. Some days we would have it on Saturday. Some days we had it on Sunday. But we got the offer to launch the brand. We got the offer to activate in this space in some way. It wasn't like, hey, do you want to do something with diet? It was just like, hey, we have this space. Do you want to do something? And so it came to us like, yo, would you want to launch the brand in there? There's a bar, there's all of these things. And I had some, actually the guys from New York, Mikey's Likes It ice cream. Did y'all ever hear of that?
It's in the Lower East Side, right?
I'm not sure exactly where they were. I don't even know if they're still.
Mikey, I know the store.
There is like a black-owned ice cream spot, but we were cool with the owners and the team. And we had discussed like a pop-up event where we would have this over-the-top food and ice cream and like all of this stuff. So whenever the opportunity came, it was like, okay, let's do this concept. Like they've got a small kitchen, they've got a bar. We can build out a retail fixture, the whole setup. And we launched Diet in May 2017 with this retail restaurant and bar. And it was supposed to be a 3-month pop-up, but like you said, it was buzzing so much that the landlords were like, yo, like, how about you extend this until the end of the year? And so we extended it. And then January 2018, they're like, yo, how about you extend this till the end of the summer? And we're like, and so we just kept extending it and extending it. We had it like 2 years, a year and a half almost, like 18 months. But that was like a big... At that time, there weren't, again, a lack of competition. There wasn't a lot. Like now, retailers, everybody's kind of doing food and beverage and coffee and stuff like that. But 2017, I can't think of many that were doing it then. But yeah, we created an energy in the city it's missed. Like there was a post going around a couple weeks ago that was like, I miss the old DC where you had this spot and Diet Starts Monday. And like, it was an honor to even kind of be mentioned with some of those spots.
So I was mad when y'all closed because I was trying to make it So spy and an
That's
announcer
the
came. I said, "Come on, now."
that's kind of the common thread with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I had a call the other day with a girl who said the same thing. She's like, I never got to go, and then you guys close it, because I don't think that people understood that it wasn't a permanent fixture. Like, it was just pop-ups that we kept extending, and we didn't want to close it, but it was we had just launched the brand and this restaurant bar concept at the same time. And I'm coming from premium, where premium was all like menswear basics, essentials. I always kind of said like a John Elliott, like baby brother. Like, we were kind of always kind of playing catch up to him. But coming from premium to diet, I had no clue what the diet consumer wanted from us. So it was very difficult to try to navigate building this brand while handling a restaurant, because restaurant space is a tough, and we had none of us had any food experience other
You
than
guys
eating.
didn't think about bringing like a consultant, or that wasn't in the budget, or
I mean, it definitely wasn't in the budget, but the landlords were very good. So they had a spot next to us called Marvin that was one of the GOAT spots in DC. Like, still, it was in that same tweet. But they were very good at like lending a helping hand, and they did bring over somebody to kind of help, but it still wasn't really enough. Like, we needed more hands on deck, I think. But concept was great. We had a great time, but all good things must come to an end. But it's not like the book is closed on it. Like, we still discuss maybe bringing it back in a new way someday, but we'll see. Time will tell.
just curious, why, like, building a brand, why DC? Why did you go from?
I mean, that's where we were at. I was in DC from I was in Northern Virginia, but I was in the area. We basically launched and built Premium in DC. So we were a DC brand. And then I moved to LA in 2018. So, but I was producing out here since 2014. I wanted to move for a while, but it just never couldn't afford it, or didn't make sense, or whatever. But
I always ask people in your industry, like, why not New York? Like, I know I'm biased because I'm from the city, but like, why? I tend, like, a lot of people tend to gravitate towards LA versus.
Well, it used to
maybe New
be
York.
different. It used to be for fashion. Like, New York was the
Yeah,
place.
that's what I grew up on.
But our first real factory with Premium was in New York, and I would take the train up from DC, and it was a good learning experience. But New York production is different than LA.
Got it.
And it's not that one is better than the other, but also for me, like I said, I coming from Kentucky, I move at a slow pace. New York is not a slow pace.
No, it's not.
So I would have survived and adapted, but LA is much more my speed. But I think that just the way that we produce in LA is just different. New York, a lot of the factories are like all in one house, and they kind of hit you over the head at a high premium. So,
Yeah.
like, for the price that I would pay to make a hoodie in New York, I could pay to make like 6 hoodies here. So it's like,
It's business decision.
yeah, definitely just pure business.
Yeah.
But I love New York. I was just there a few weeks ago.
What's up, man?
And what about the name? Diet Starts Monday.
I mean, so the name is just something that we said to each other just all the time, like traveling, going to Vegas for like trade shows, or New York for Fashion Week, like going out to parties, getting pizza at like 5 a.m., 4 a.m. And then, we'd just be back at the room, be like, yo, like, Diet Starts Monday for real. And we wanted to do the brand for a while, like a few years. We didn't have a name at the time. We just had this idea of doing another brand other than anything else we had. And we we finally like set it in stone, like the end of 2016, like, all right, like we're gonna launch next year. And we started throwing out names, and that was the only name that got thrown out was Diet Starts Monday. And it's like from that point, it was just like off to the races.
Flames.
I mean, and a lot of people confuse it with like, oh, it's a fitness brand or it's a food brand or whatever because the name. But it really just stems from like the procrastination that everybody goes through. Like, oh, I wanna lose 10 pounds. I'm gonna start Monday, or I'll start on the first of the month or whatever. And we treated the brand the same way. Like I said, we wanted to do it for probably 2-3 years, and then finally we're like, all right, like we're actually gonna put the idea into motion today. So it really is kind of like a fight against procrastination. Like, what if Monday never comes? Like, chase your dreams today type thing.
Yeah. And what were some of the, I know you said you had some of those aha moments since Premium and Gully Originals. What were some of the, what was the first aha moment from DSM that you could remember? And sort of, you mentioned some of the early challenges, right? All things must come to an end, like with the pop-up, the restaurant. But once you started creating sort of like your staples, what were some of the early creative challenges you faced?
I mean, I think for Diet, the first challenge was just figuring out what the product looked like. Everybody knew me from Premium, which was I didn't get to show off graphic design skills really. I would try, but the customer just was like, yo, this isn't what we want from you. We want the basics. And so it was really trying to figure out like, all right, how do you create a brand that's different from Premium? And in the very beginning, I would say this was probably actually the most challenging in the beginning, having two brands, designing something and figuring out which brand to give it to. Yeah. And also the challenge of which brand do I put the more energy into? Yeah. You only can put out how much energy you have. And I've got these two vessels that I need to fill up. And Diet just kind of naturally, it was just like every idea made so much more sense for Diet. And I think that was probably like the toughest part. But once I started figuring out like, okay, this t-shirt performed or this short performed, I then had some data to kind of build from. But I mean, we have had crazy challenges of trademark issues and all kind of things along the way. Money, just trying to figure out like how much do you spend on this, how much do you spend on that? When do you start paying? Is it okay to start paying? Is it like, it's just kind of, there's so many, every day is a new challenge. Now the challenges are just so much larger, right, but so much more expensive. So it's like,
more money, more problems, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is like, I don't even know if it's more money, more problems, if it's just more money, bigger problems. Like it might be because you've learned so much along the way that you're starting to be able to dodge some of the challenges. But now it's just like when you do get hit with that one, it's like $100,000 challenge that hits you that you're like, man, I really wish I could have slipped that one. But yeah, I mean, I think Tyler and myself, like I said, we've been partners since 2011, and really probably so what is that, 13 years? I would say probably a decade in, maybe even 11 years in, is when Tyler and I really started to kind of find our stride of working together. Before, Tyler kind of had like a bag of skills that was kind of like spread around a bunch of things. Mm-hmm. And then as I got, I guess, I don't know, older or more mature or just more experienced in business, we really started to try to like pinpoint what everybody's best at and say like, okay, Tyler, you're best at this. like, I don't need you helping me with this part. Like, let me do that. You focus specifically on this. And he was doing it from a stance of like, yo, I'm just trying to help. But I'm like, I know, but this is how you help.
help.
Like
Be
this
more
is
efficient.
this is the art of efficiency. Like we can figure out, like we can pay somebody for this, but like I would rather you spend your time on this part. And so I think figuring out how to just be more efficient has been the biggest challenge, but blessing, because now it's rubbed off on him to where he's like, yo, rather than us do this, like let's send this to this person. And so we never really had many people to delegate to. Like we've always had a really small team. So now with Fiverr and like all of these things, it's like yo, like why do we feel like we have to take on this task just because we're brand
We
owners?
talk about that. all the
We
time.
talk about this all the time with the show here. Like at first it was sort of like we're trying to do everything together.
Right.
And then now for season 2, we kind of found out we're in our stride where Mike is really strong at certain things. I'm really strong at other things. I mean, we'll always check in with each other, sign off on things, but we won't ever like double.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense to do that. So it sounds like you definitely are finding your stride right now.
Yeah, I mean, trying to. I mean, we're still like bringing people in, trying them for different things, seeing like
It's hard to find.
if
good
if
help.
seeing if their piece fits in the puzzle. Definitely, I've been seeing a lot of different podcasts about hire slow, fire fast, and we've never really brought many people in general, and a lot of it is just because of just not finding like that perfect puzzle piece. So it definitely is a tough challenge. Like our team, like I said, our day-to-day team is really me and Tyler.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of tasks to handle. But we do have help where we can outsource it. Like, okay, fulfillment, like we don't need to ship orders, like you guys handle that. And photo, video, like I'll handle the creative and the look, but like you shoot all of these styles. And now we're starting to really figure out what business looks like from like a director's role.
Got it.
Before it was just kind of like me juggling a million things and Tyler trying to like pick up underneath like whatever I was dropping. And now we're like really trying to, like I'm designing for summer 25 right now. So I'm like, was that 14 months out?
Yeah.
And so that having those designs that far out lets you kind of, all right, like we're gonna have product by this date, we're gonna shoot this date. Like now we're kind of beginning to actually work in the way of like an actual corporation, opposed to like just having a brand in our garage that we're like
Treating it
trying
like
to
a
manage.
business.
Yeah,
Treating it
exactly.
like a business. You're acting like a boss, man. That's how it should be.
I was gonna ask you about your creative process. Just being an artist in general, it's so easy to be influenced by what's trending, what's hot. The thing that drew me into DSM is like one product in particular. You guys did a Sherpa white biker jacket, which was different. You can't really find that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like always those key pieces that I like from DSM. So what makes you, in your creative process, like, let me throw this in here instead of like, going with the look that all these brands are doing?
I mean, for me, I've always tried to not play into trends, just because I think if you could put a timeline of product that I've designed over the last decade, all of them could probably still work in today's like
Yeah.
world. And that's why and I wouldn't even say that that's the reason why, but I've never wanted to play into trends, because I've wanted that like that longevity to where you have this t-shirt that I sold you in 2014 and you still pull it out in 2024. I think to your point about the jacket, another thing that you would probably see like a common thread is I've always tried to apply different fabrications to pieces that you don't usually see. So like one of the first was a neoprene bomber jacket. This was, I don't know, 2014. Nobody was doing neoprene at that point. Then Alexander Wang, and I won't say that they saw me and did it, but we've always kind of been right in front of the wave, which always isn't always like the best place to be, because if you're too early, you miss the wave.
Yeah.
So that timing is hard to pick out because you never really know when something's gonna hit. But yeah, we've had a ton of those products that have been just right in front of the curve. But I think it just comes from not wanting to, like, even now, like if I see that if I'm working on something and then somebody else does it and I don't feel like mine brings anything new into the world, it's like, why even? There's enough trash out here already. Like, we don't need another, we don't need like, if he's doing it, like, I don't need to do it too. Like, I'll just shift and do something different. So I think that mindset of, is this the most creative I can be with this piece? And am I bringing something new to the world? I think that's usually the angle that I approach it with. And sometimes it's received that way, and then sometimes it isn't. But I think that very early on, we didn't have the means to, because you asked this off camera about outerwear and the jackets. And early on, like, we didn't have the capital to sample these jackets and go into production on them and hit minimums and things like that. So as the brand grows, obviously, and the bank account like comes with it, you're like, okay, now we can spend a little bit more here on development, and we can be a little bit more experiential and experiment with different pieces and see what works. And we have really good relationships with our factories to where we don't have to, like, I don't have to make 10,000 of something. Like, I can try something super wild. I kind of have looked at things recently as from like a pyramid, where it's like you have your base, that's your bread and butter, that's your t-shirts, your hoodies, your things like that. Then you have the middle of the pyramid is like stuff that's a little bit more elevated, and then the very top is like the wildest. Like, that's the stuff that you're going to sell the least of, but that's your marketing piece. That's the piece that's going to get people talking about the collection, and you may only sell one of them, but the way we put collections together is very much a story, and there's a lot of pieces that make the story that aren't the stars of the show, but they are an important role player. So I try to make sure that I'm staying true to the story I wanted to tell.
And when you say when you drop a piece, you want to add value to obviously to the fashion world. To you, what does value look like?
I mean, I think product that customers see and they want it. For one, I think that's obviously the first step of it. But I think the real value is that longevity, that you may see our You Sure Do Look Like Trouble jacket from this holiday collection and buy it in 2024. But like, that's a piece that's built so well and it's so timeless that, like, you're probably never gonna get rid of it.
Super clean, man.
Yeah, thank you. You're gonna have that for a while. So to me, that's the value, where we see people tag us in either like a video of their collection, or even just tag us in pictures of them wearing stuff from 2017, 2018, 2019. That's the value to me. Is, again, there is so much trash, and I'm not saying that necessarily just in the design sense. There is a ton of trashy designs out there too, but there's so much like fabric waste out there in general that it's like, I don't want to just add that just to kind of like put product out. I want to put product out that people want and want to wear for like a long time.
You know, one of the first things that I noticed about your products is, the first thing I did, I'm a big fabric guy, and I noticed how high quality everything is. And I was like, that to me is the look, obviously you gotta like how it looks, but how it wears on you and
course.
how it falls on my body, especially since I'm a bigger dude.
Yeah.
Like I just love that design, and I'm like that's why I continuously want to keep coming back to and looking forward to what DSM brings in the future. But I just wanted to be a little bit of a fanboy for the moment. Just
No,
give
I
me the
mean,
props, bro. Like
no, I
honestly,
appreciate that because I I know I'm kind of like here for diet, but premium taught me so much about good fabrication, good quality. We had a production manager out here, which is really kind of what resulted in me moving out here. I hired a production manager out here who she still to me is one of the most talented kind of production managers, and just she has a brand too, but um, she really took us in and showed us all of the proper steps to like creating a really solid garment. And so when we launched Diet, I already had the knowledge of like, okay, these are the steps that even just our t-shirts have to go through to look and feel the way we want them to. So it definitely is. I don't know if you can hear my stomach growling, but it definitely is appreciated for people to kind of comment on the quality, because that is a thing that in today's climate of fashion, it's so fast that most people don't really care. I won't say most people. There's a big percentage of people who only care about what it looks like for that outfit, and then it's like out the window. So it definitely means a lot for people to actually be like, yo, like, yeah, the design is dope, but like this, the feel, the fabric, the weight, like this is lovely.
Yeah. What about collaborations? Because I see you take your time and picking out the fabrics and things like that. You're high in quality. So is it the same process when you talk about the collaborations that you're gonna associate your brand with?
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me, I've seen you do collaborations from just a versatile group of brands. You'll do like a Puma, but then you guys did a brand in Sao Paulo as well, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
what's the thought process behind that?
I mean, honestly, I'm just I'm open to collaborating with people that that can let us bring something fresh to the world. Like it doesn't really make sense for uh you and me to team up if we do the same thing, because we're not really bringing anything new. Like yeah, we can put our logos on the same garment, and that's cool, but um it doesn't bring anything fresh to the world. As far as like collaborations with, I really try to collaborate with companies and brands that specialize in things that we don't specialize in.
Mm.
So like Ryder Sandal out of Brazil, like this was 2018. We had obviously no footwear experience at that time. That was our first footwear project, but they made a product that we still get asked about to this day. And I've since tried to launch another one with them like multiple times that just cannot get them to respond. So clearly we didn't do a good enough job for them. But so we're just making our own now. But Puma's another one where we first worked with a company, Greenhouse, who was owned by Foot Locker.
I
And
remember that.
Greenhouse came to us and said, here's a list of 20 brands that you could pick from, and we'll go pitch the collab to those brands for you, which we will then produce and sell on Greenhouse and Foot Locker. And so we went through the list, and it was, of course, your Nike, Adidas, Puma, maybe Reebok, G-Shock, North Face, Vans, all of these brands. And I very early was like Puma, because this was before they had the projects with Ruigi. Not that they weren't already working on them, but they hadn't launched at least, so we didn't know about them. And I was like, Puma to me makes sense because they're probably going to let us take more of a risk.
Right.
Nike's already what Nike is. Adidas at the time is what Adidas was at that time. And I felt like Puma was the one that was gonna let us like really go in and try to like do something fun and cool. And my partners at the time were kind of like not, some of them were just kind of like, nah, I'm not really feeling Puma. And then we ended up doing Puma, and it didn't do what it was supposed to, because it ended up, obviously it was going to launch 2020. And obviously we know what happened in 2020. So it didn't do what it was supposed to do, but it still did enough for Puma to be like, yo, we loved working with you. We want to do something like specifically with you, like externally from Greenhouse. Like Greenhouse will still get access to it, but they were like, we want to do something with Diet. And so we came back and did something different. But so with that one, it was a project that they saw that they could use our energy to better their energy for their brand as well. And so that's one thing that we look for in these collabs. Same with Saucony. Saucony is a funny one because they brought me on to do the grid web, which is a silhouette that they don't sell anymore. And I had one of the cleanest grid web designs, and we were sampling it. I have a few samples still, but when I went to Boston to meet with them, they showed me the Endorphin Pro, which is their marathon shoe. When I saw it, I'm like, yo, you got to let me run this. And I was saying that, like, you got to let me run this, but still let me get my grid web off too. We ended up shifting so much to the Endorphin Pro that they ended up kind of just canceling their grid web department altogether. But that was, again, another one. Nobody was really doing performance footwear from like a streetwear perspective. So again, another example of just trying to do something different that not everybody's doing. And we probably were a few years before everybody, and we kind of missed the big peak of the wave. But at least when people look back, they'll see a history of like, yo, like everything he's saying, they did ahead of everybody else. So,
and just moving on to that, like, you know, cultivating a culture, right? Just with your brand, because, you know, grow up in New York City, you had the Soho kids. Kids used to be in Soho all the time, just like just basically showing off to each other in terms of like what their fashion brand is. Like, how for you here being here in LA, is there like a way you're trying to cultivate like a sort of like your own kind of like niche or pie and slice in the streetwear culture? Because you definitely have the Can't Teach Taste moniker now, right? And I don't care what Cam says, right? That's hard, right? I like that. So I definitely like that. But when you think of certain things, like, are you trying to like build like your own slice in the streetwear culture, or because you're trying to stay unique?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to carve out our own spot. We're still trying to figure out like what Diet's relationship is with just culture in general. In LA specifically, LA's funny because you have a city full of like cool, like everybody's the coolest person in the world here. And so
we know 4 days, we know we got
so like building a brand is kind of tough here, because you have all of the top brands in the space. Amiri, Fear of God, Rude, like Represent is now here. So there's so many brands here that are like the leaders of the space. And again, back to like the people here, it makes it tough to activate because a lot of people feel that they are the coolest. There is a chunk of people that like don't really like to show support. So, but that's part of why this goes back to the collaborations. One of the things that I've looked for in these collaborations are brands that will let me activate in markets that aren't the top markets. Because early on in our career, I would say like, oh, can we do a pop-up here? And they would be like, well, that's not a key market for us. Or can we do a pop-up here? That's not a key market for us. But like me partnering with Steph Curry and Under Armour let me like do something in my hometown. And these are markets that are often overlooked.
Right.
Yeah.
So whenever you do activate there, they show so much support, and it's good for me to like go back home and try to build my legacy at home. But I mean, we're still trying to figure out like our community impact and how we can show up. And I mean, we used to do like the Diet Starts Monday workout classes here in LA. This was 2019. Again, something that COVID kind of like put the kibosh on before we could really, I think we got like 3 classes off before COVID shut us down. And we would do like the exclusive merch for the event, and you complete the class. It's a group class with like 15 cool people in LA that are all at their various stages of their fitness career. And then you complete it, you get the product. It's a good team building moment. You know, a lot of people say that like true bonding comes from suffering together. And so
We went to a Barry's class. We went to 2 in a row.
yeah.
We definitely got closer.
I
to that.
tapped out
Yeah.
today.
No, I mean, yeah, it's that, but I got my homie Ocho, he says he's got a 4 a.m. workout thing here that I still haven't made it because 4 is just like, bro, why? But I'm gonna do it. But he preaches that like, yo, like these people, they come at 4 a.m. It's a different level of like brotherhood and building. So the workout classes is something that we want to get back into. We've just been trying to figure out what our role is now, because so many other companies and brands are doing the workout classes. Like, how can we show up differently? So that's why we're doing the Diet Starts Monday Boxing Club.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, so that'll be kind of our new iteration of what we did 5 years ago. Is I'm into boxing. I got a lot of homies who are into it. None of us are like trying to be pro or even amateur or anything like that. It's just a really good workout. It's good for your mental clarity. Like, it's the only workout I've done recently that really lets me like block everything out. So we're gonna bring that out hopefully in the next couple months. But yeah, I mean, again, just trying to show up, but show up differently. I'm not trying to just do another thing that everybody's like, if somebody's already like mastered it and made their like claim to it, like I'll try to figure something else out.
I think we got time for one more question.
We got 2.
Oh, 2?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So what would be the one product that you haven't mentioned here yet, or anything that you're like, this is that next level, or this is where, okay, I could see myself, or I dream of doing this. This one product that you would want to put out, whether it's with Diet Starts Monday, or it's maybe an elevated, you know, or just different genre in general.
Yeah, I mean, so we have 2 other brands that we're launching. One is pretty close, and one is very infant stages. The one that's very infant in its infancy is like, that's the one that I'm like, I feel like that's kind of peak. I won't even say peak Davin design, but just like peak brand for us. Because every step along the way, you learn so much more. So I think that's the one that I'm kind of like feeling like, all right, this is the one that we're gonna apply everything that we've ever learned with premium diet. The next one, nobody knows this, but the next one is called Reality Trip.
Nice.
And
Wow.
that one we've been sitting on since 2020. And it's just, again, like diet is such a busy brand for the small team that we have, that it makes these launches of new brands really difficult to kind of lift off. But hopefully we get Reality Trip up. I don't know, maybe the top of 25. I don't know if we can get it out this year, but I think as far as as far to answer your question on that, yeah, we do have other projects with diet that are on the way that are, I won't say necessarily new level, but obviously new era. That's a new era for us.
Yeah.
We had the MLB projects last year with 47. We're switching to new era, and looking to see how the public receives us in that space, because the hat community is its own niche that is a very like it's a very they're very tough on you if the hat was made at the wrong, if it's a centimeter off here, like it controls a lot. So
Different.
The MLB one was hard though. I think from the outside looking in, I thought it did well.
no, I mean, to us it was probably I wouldn't say probably, it was our most successful collaboration out of over a decade of having brands.
I'm gonna hit you off camera for the strap for the strap one for
Yeah.
sure,
No,
because I'm mad that I missed out on that one.
No, yeah, I mean, surely you won't mess that on this next one though. We have all teams except for one. I think we'll see if they feel stupid. They probably won't, but all teams except for one, and I designed a lot for each team, and those will hit our site. We'll do an event with Nordstrom for All-Star Weekend in Dallas, and they'll hit top retailers in the world. So definitely don't miss. Surely we got somebody in Dubai that can.
I'm gonna ship to New York. Forget that. I'm gonna get it. Don't worry about it. All right, Dad, we have one more. Gotta keep it. We have like 5 minutes left. So we are the Last Flight Out podcast, and we try to highlight people who take pivots in their life so that where they've taken a risk, they've taken went off on that proverbial flight that took them to that next destination. For you in your life, what was that sort of last flight out moment where if you didn't take that risk or that chance, you wouldn't be here in front of us right now?
Man, it's funny because to me, I feel like it's almost the opposite. It's almost like there were so many things that I could have done that I didn't, that would have prevented me from even being here today. So I had tons of opportunities to mess up along the way. That, like, Kentucky's a very unforgiving state when it comes to the laws and things like that. So there's so many steps I could have made that prevented this altogether. But I think that the first thing that, and this is funny because I didn't graduate college, but I think that the most important thing was me leaving to go to college, because my city is very, they refer to the trap. My city is very much a trap. It traps a lot of people that went out but just can't make it out. And so I think me taking that first step, going to college, even though, like I said, I'm not here to say go to college or not go to college, but for me, going to college, even outside of the school part of it, just me going and working on building my brand. And I did go to some classes and I picked up some knowledge, but the most knowledge I gained was from me interacting with all the different people that I was either learning from or selling shirts to or doing graphic design for. And then that kind of worked my way up to premium and premium to diet and so on and so on. So I think without taking that step and going to college, I probably would have never really kind of steamrolled the hand painted clothing into something, which then turned into premium and so on and so on. So again, it's kind of like we spoke about basketball. Like, if I had gone to college to play basketball, I probably wouldn't have ended up in fashion. So if I hadn't left to go to college, I may have just got trapped in Madisonville. So, and that's not to say that the people that they're all trapped. It's just I could have very easily been trapped. So that's probably the best way to put it.
Damn, that's pretty. You can't find that on Google. That's for sure.
No, I mean, again, Madisonville, like I said, I love it. Like we hated it, but it really, like, there's a lot of like really great people that have come. You said the guy is from there. So you're probably one of the first people I've ever met who said they met somebody from Madisonville.
Yeah.
But other than me, but yeah.
All right. So before we sign off, why you don't tell the audience where they can find you? You have a collab you wanna share.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on everything, Davin_Gentry, Davin. Not to be confused with David. I get David a lot. David is my great uncle. We have the New Era collaboration. We have our spring collection, which will already have launched before this goes up. Spring 2, summer and fall. All of those are, like I said, just leaps and bounds of our previous collections. We have our footwear project that we're working on in Italy. I just got second samples back, and those are looking great.
You want to get some feedback, we're in a
Nah,
group chat
yeah.
now.
I almost wore them today, but I don't know where I put them. So, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I think for us, like the first couple years were very packed with collabs, and I really pulled back on those, and we're just really trying to focus like on our DTC business, our wholesale business, launching our own footwear and our own bag and our own this that like kind of get out of depending on these companies to kind of handle the lift for us. So yeah, for us, we're just focusing on our own business, and we'll see what collabs come. They're still conversing, but we'll see.
Looking forward to it, man.
Oh.
So thanks again for tuning in. You know the drill by now. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You can find us at Last Fight Out Podcast across all social media channels. You can find me at JLubriel26, and you can find Mike at
If Mike was here.
Thanks again, guys. Same time, same place next week.
Peace.
My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement. Last
What's
one
going
out.
on, man?
Flat out.